Bitcoin ripped back to 65K on a weak CPI print yesterday, and Bitcoin Twitter is back. We are so back, right? But I don't think the CPI is the reason Bitcoin is pumping. There's much more happening that could compound the speed of Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs. You see, yesterday, the Senate did something I thought was impossible. Honestly, I thought it was illegal or unconstitutional to even propose something like this, let alone vote on it. Well, commit what many believe to be a treasonous act. Pretty sure Thomas Jefferson would agree. America scores a major victory as the US Senate just voted 50-46 to block Netanyahu's plan to merge with the US military. Yay, right? America still has some tiny semblance of sovereignty, but the world can see the US isn't what it was, and they know the CPI is a lie. The coin clippers are working at breakneck speed, and they're gonna have to paper over their broken promises. A strategic petroleum reserve dissolving, and the world ditching the dollar because how can you trust a non-sovereign nation's currency? Something has shifted. And it's massively bullish for Bitcoin. We got a lot to get to today. Sunday.
It's literally treason. You're handing your government to a foreign government against the will of your own people who pay for everything. I mean, my view is if there was ever a justification for shutting down Washington, it's this. And yet it doesn't seem like there's any way to stop it. Call your congressman. Does that matter?
Sometimes, yeah, sure. I mean, if the people get enough calls, they get nervous. And when they start getting nervous and there's a slippage in votes, yeah, I mean, it can make a difference. Absolutely. Sure, it can make a difference. Now, given AIPAC's influence, will it make a difference? I don't know, but
you won't need AIPAC after this.
No. One
Dehumiliating control and all that, I get it. But like as a practical matter, it's done.
Real quick, before we get into it, a couple years ago, I'm at a barbecue. My friend, good dude, works hard, thinks I've lost my mind on the Bitcoin stuff. He goes, Rustin, the dollar's not going anywhere. It's the world reserve currency. Everybody needs it. And back then, fair point. That was the whole deal. You could run up the debt, you could print, you could do whatever you wanted because the entire planet was contractually obligated to hold your paper. That was the American exorbitant privilege. 1920s, if you will. Here's the thing I wish I could go back and tell them. The reserve status was never a law of physics. It was a reputation, and reputation is the one asset you can vaporize in a single afternoon. And yesterday was that afternoon because what the world watched wasn't a vote. It was a country debating out loud on C-SPAN whether it still belonged to itself. And when the guy holding your IOUs watches you do that, he doesn't call. He just quietly stops rolling over the debt. Let me walk you off that ledge though, because this is possibly the single most bullish thing that could have ever happened for Bitcoin. Oh, and hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps us out, helps you stay up to date with the peaceful revolution. But okay, let's dive into this CPI. So the headline number, CPI came in soft. Everybody's celebrating. Bitcoin Twitter's popping champagne. Cool. Everything's absolutely fine except, and I need you to sit with this, the government controls the definition of the number they're being graded on. Think about that. That's like letting the kid grade his own report card and then throwing him a party when he gives himself an A. I want to play you James Lavish on this because he says it cleaner than I obviously ever could. Roll it.
The Treasury and the Fed, I think that they will do what they need to do to stabilize those markets. And so that's really the thing. So if you see the stock market crash, they may let it simmer out a little bit. But if you see it take down the bond market with it, no, there's going to be printing immediately behind it. So, but you're looking for signals in the background. So one thing they could do is the Fed could take out the supplementary leverage ratio rules and remove treasuries from there. And then suddenly banks are buying more treasuries and holding more treasuries on their books. And what is that? That's inflationary. You know, you could see some sort of acronym come out and a regular treasury enhancement system, and so next thing you know, they're buying treasuries, and they say, "Wow, we're going to be buying 7 years, and you know, 7 to 15-year treasuries. You're going to be buying those for a little bit, and it's because of this, this, and this, and it's a regular operation. There's nothing to see here. If the balance sheet is expanding, it's not regular. That's inflationary, meaning it's debasing the currency. And so those are obvious kind of flags for you to get back into those trades. Not that I've gotten out of them.
Yeah, me neither. It's I'm too bad at trading. I just buy and hold Bitcoin. But one of it, like when QE comes back in whatever form it is, might not be called QE. Do you think we could see yield curve control and go the full sort of Japan playbook route?
I do, but I don't think it would be. I think it would be much less obvious than what Japan has been doing. I just think that we'll obfuscate it in some way, shape, or form with acronyms and programs, and I just don't. I don't think it would be so obvious. But functionally and structurally, it'd basically be the same thing. The question is, how much would we be buying? How and for how long? And and whether it's like Larry says, it's whether it's a collapse of the markets or economy or confidence in the treasury, and next thing you know, you've got the big print. That would take a black swan event that we can't imagine. But I couldn't imagine 6 years ago that they would insist that we be locked in our own houses for months at a time. So who knows? Who knows what they come up with? But I I just think it's more along the lines of a slow, continuous, quiet print. And they move these programs around to keep it going, and they're active. They dance around it. I don't think it's going to be in your face, big, obvious debasement. I think it's going to be a quiet, steady debasement like we're seeing now. Right now, it's just we got QE light going on. And I think it'll be QE light to medium for a long time. And they will allow the inflation to run hotter than they'll admit to, which is the whole point of the conversation we started with, which is what really is the inflation rate? Go look at your own bills. Go look at what you were paying for last year and compare it what you're paying this year. Look at the same things and look at your grocery bill, your gas bills, your air conditioning, energy, and don't forget insurance. That's likely the biggest slug of it. Health, home, car, like that stuff is just skyrocketed. Child care. I mean, you can't tell me it's 3.5%. Please.
Zero
It's
chance.
absurd. Zero chance. So the best thing they could do for them is quietly allow inflation to run hot. Quietly let it run 5, 7, 9% without people really understanding it.
Quietly. That's the whole game right there. That's the tell. And look, this isn't a tinfoil hat thing. The IMF ran the numbers. When you rebuild the old pre-1983 CPI, back when it actually counted the cost of owning a home and your interest payments, inflation reads dramatically hotter than the number they hand you on the TV. They didn't fix inflation, they redefined it. Same con since 1971. You close the gold window, you tell the world just trust the number, and then over 50 years, you quietly move where the number is measured from. It's a Ponzi where the only product being sold is confidence in the Ponzi. Let's steelman it for a second. Bear point 1, maybe the number is cooling. Supply chain's healed, energy's down, the print is the print. Bear point 2, a soft CPI genuinely lowers rate hike odds. Cheaper money is a real tailwind for risk assets and Bitcoin benefits. That part of the champagne is earned. Okay, now the bull case. Bull point 1. Even if it's real, 3-ish% compounding is your purchasing power getting quietly deleted every single year. Forever. A win that still robs you slower is still robbery. Great. Awesome. Bull point 2. The soft print doesn't touch the actual problem. 39 trillion in debt that has to be rolled over at these rates. You can massage the CPI all you want. You can't massage the interest payment. That bill comes due in dollars they don't have which means they're going to have to print. Say it with me. They're gonna have to print. Now here is where it connects, and this is the part nobody on the champagne side of Bitcoin Twitter is saying out loud. Forget who the vote was about for a second. Zoom out to what a foreign creditor saw. They saw the United States publicly debating whether its own military, its own sovereignty, its own decisions still belong to it. Here, check out former Congressman Dennis Kucinich in his recent show with the legend, Dr. Ron Paul.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, has taken credit for the legislation that was put into the National Defense Authorization Act of 2027. He basically said, yeah, this is what I want. Well, he wants it because he'll have the ability to direct the U.S. military. I mean, it's mind-boggling when you think about it. And this particular proposal, by the way it's structured, and, you know, when I first heard about it, I said, I have to read the legislation, because let me tell you, folks who are watching, you have to read the legislation in order to understand its workings. And the way this is written, it puts the Department of Defense in the driver's seat over other federal departments, including state. And then this policy it runs through the whole government. I mean, this really, you could almost say this is a takeover. And, you know, for some it'll sound hysterical, but the truth is that it is laying the groundwork for an entanglement that has never happened in the history of the United States. This is totally unprecedented.
And here is the brutal mechanical truth. A currency is only worth the sovereignty behind it. That's it. That's the whole thing. The dollar isn't valuable because it's pretty. It's valuable because a sovereign nation with the world's biggest economy and military stands behind it and says, this is money. The second the world starts asking, wait, is this a sovereign nation or a subsidiary? The entire premise of the reserve currency cracks. Because how do you price the debt of a country that might not be steering its own ship? You price it higher, yields spike, and suddenly the yield thing makes a lot more sense, right? And this isn't happening in a vacuum. The exit was already underway. Central banks have been quietly dumping dollar reserves and stacking gold for years. 84% of them expect to hold more gold as de-dollarization continues, and they're not waiting for permission. So picture the coin clippers' actual position right now. Yield spiking, debt they can't afford, a strategic petroleum reserve they already drained, and now the credibility, the reputation, the only thing holding it all up. Publicly on trial, a twig holding up the falling Empire State Building, that's what it is. And I have exactly one tool, the printer. There is no other move on the board. And here's the beautiful world historical irony. The same government that's about to be forced to print its way out, it's also sitting on a strategic Bitcoin reserve right now today over 328,000 coins. Allegedly. They know, at the highest level, they know where this goes. They're holding the lifeboat while telling you the ship is unsinkable, allegedly. Here's the dark truth. The dollar monetizes the debt, the wars, the surveillance. Bitcoin is the antithesis. Fixed supply, no signature required, no politician to blackmail, no vote to sell it out. It's the currency of sovereignty in a world that is running out of it.
Bitcoin changes the way you think. It's now been a year since the country made Bitcoin legal tender. Bitcoin is 100% understood and known in El Salvador. The adoption rate is going up every single month, but people understand the mindset of Bitcoin and individual sovereignty. Part of the Bitcoin's mindset is an intolerance to violence, an intolerance to the IMF, because Bitcoin demonetizes violence and it monetizes peace and love.
Speaking of the one thing they can never print more of, here's the uncomfortable question. If sovereignty is the whole ballgame, if a currency is only as good as who controls it, then let me ask you, who controls your Bitcoin? Because if it's on an exchange, in IBIT, in MicroStrategy, that's not your Bitcoin. That's Coinbase's, that's Larry Fink's, that's Michael Saylor's. You did the exact thing we just spent 10 minutes roasting the government for doing. You handed your sovereignty to an institution and told yourself to trust the number. The Bitcoin way fixes that. Real self-custody, proper hardware, your own node, full on-chain verification, the privacy stack, the whole thing, Plan B residency. They walk you through it, so you actually own your keys instead of an IOU. Book your free 30-minute consultation today. Scan the QR on the screen or hit the link in the show notes. 30 minutes, that's the difference between owning Bitcoin and owning a paper promise. And once you actually hold your own stack, speaking of not selling it, possibly using a portion, just tiny portion to access liquidity, here's what nobody tells you. You don't have to sell your Bitcoin to get liquidity. That's the trap the fiat world wants you in. Sell the best asset you'll ever own to cover a bill. Ledn, Bitcoin-backed loans, you keep your stack, you get cash, you repay whenever you want, 0 penalties. 8 years in business, over $10 billion in loans, 0 customer Bitcoin ever lost. They never rehypothecate. That is the opposite of the FTX Trust Me Bro model. That's the whole point. So scan the QR, click the link, and head to ledn.io today. All right, let's connect the dots before I bring it home. Dot 1, the CPI came in soft. They threw a party, but they own the definition, and the real cost of living has been running hot for years. That number is pure theater. Dot 2, the world watched the US debate whether it still belongs to itself, and a currency is only worth the sovereignty behind it. That reputation just took a body blow on live television for the world to see. Dot 3, yield spiking, reserves dwindling, 39 trillion to roll over, one tool left, the printer. 3 dots, one line through all of them. The people who run the dollar are being forced to admit, quietly, allegedly, with the soft CPI print as cover, that they cannot fix this without printing, and the world is done pretending it can't see it. When you set up your Bitcoin wallet, did you actually plan for real life? Because phones get lost. People forget things, stuff breaks, and eventually, whether you like thinking about it or not, your Bitcoin may need to be passed on to someone else. That's exactly why BitKey makes so much sense. It's like the idiot-proof hardware wallet. BitKey is a self-custody Bitcoin wallet designed around the fact that life happens. There's no seed phrase sitting on a piece of paper that can disappear forever, and there's no single point of failure where one mistake means your Bitcoin is just gone. The new BitKey device even has a touchscreen, so when you're approving something important, you can actually verify what's happening before you approve it. Transactions, recoveries, address changes. You can see it yourself instead of blindly trusting that everything is okay. Recovery and inheritance are built in. Lose your phone, you have a recovery path. Want to make sure your family can access your Bitcoin someday? You can set that up too. No extra subscription, no separate inheritance service, no insanely complicated process that requires a computer science degree and a treasure map. It's just a much more practical way to hold Bitcoin for the long term. Get your BitKey today and use promo code SUNDER to get 10% off. That's it. Get your BitKey. Do it. Do it today. Here's what we learned today. They didn't celebrate a strong economy. They celebrated a softer robbery. The world didn't watch a vote. It watched a country put its own sovereignty on trial. And every creditor on earth took notes. And Bitcoin didn't pump because of CPI. Bitcoin pumped because it is the one asset on planet Earth that nobody can vote to sell out, blackmail, or quietly redefine. This isn't the beginnings of a rally, more like a repricing. And every time they reach for the only tool they have left, a little more capital walks quietly, permanently to the 21 million. No signature, no vote, just math. They are voting on selling America. You can bet your ass Bitcoin is the receipt. Oh, and before we head out, today's special announcement, we got a massive documentary dropping Saturday. Hummingbird, we're talking Bitcoin jungle, Costa Rica, Bitcoin legends all throughout this thing. It's awesome. It's epic. It's coming at you Saturday. Here's a sneak peek. Check it out.
We're witnessing this shift where we are basically pulling the rug from below the feet of this class of people that are abusing others.
Ya encontramos nuestra misión.
I've lived with and worked with indigenous cultures all over this planet. Every one of them has a prophecy that we have now arrived at a time of tremendous transformation.
The prophecy of the hummingbirds, that Uvita is the land from which the hummingbird people will emerge and heal the fracture of the world.
The project started at a local organic farmers market founded by Kena Aguilar and her mother Estela.
Dice, hay un dicho que dice, Dios los hace y ellos se juntan.
This prophecy says that back in the midst of history, human societies decided to go on 2 different paths. One was the path of the ego, which is the path of the mind.
Que usted pueda escuchar de una persona que quiere venir a desarrollar esa y lo que ven es un símbolo de dólares.
And the other was the path of the condor, the path of the heart.
Nosotros amamos esta tierra. Me han ofrecido mucho dinero. Bueno, tuve 10 tentativas de homicidio.
For the last 500 years, we've been in ego energy.
Swapping territorial colonialism with financial colonialism.
Pero es una forma que nuestro dinero no pierda tanto valor simplemente por políticas.
The goal of Bitcoin is to eliminate the banks entirely.
But the prophecy goes on to say that we would arrive at a time with the potential for the two to come together and to create a whole new level of consciousness.
This time is now.
You better be there on Saturday. Stay humble, stack sats, don't sell your corn, smash that like, hit subscribe, give us a pamp, and let us know what you think down below. Hey, love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.